Welcome to Sisflix, the podcast where we won't judge you for talking through the movie. Sisflix are the movies you laugh at, yearn for, and overanalyze with your girls, significant others, and now us.
We are your hosts,
Paola
and Nadhya, two sisters and designers who discuss chick flicks we hate to love,
tropes we love to hate,
and all of the aesthetic choices in between. Join us as we break down our favorite movies together.
Hey, sister.
Hey, sister. Here we are, back at it again with Bridgerton Season 4.
I have an offer for you.
Are you a gentleman?
No. It's a slutty hoe.
Jesus Christ. All right, what's your offer?
I have an offer from a slutty hoe.
Wow. Offer from a slutty hoe. That's specifically for Hudson Williams. I don't think that's an offer for me.
Munch, munch, munch. Yum, yum, yum. Yes. I think it's yum, 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 munch, munch, munch.
Oh, that's what he commented. Yeah, it is.
Yum, 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 munch, munch, munch.
I was doing the teeth gnashing from Connor's story during one of their interviews.
Sound included.
Yeah, guys, in the time that we're recording this, the Met Gala just happened. We're torn here at Sisflix Corp over how we feel about it. The Amazon Prime next day shipping Met Gala.
Oh, yeah. Listen, we are against the Bezos ball, for sure.
Bezos ball. Specifically the Bezos bald head. No offense to bald men and the ones we're married to.
I'm a big Metropolitan Museum of Art fan.
Same.
I visit at least twice a year. I look forward to the Met Gala because of the themes and the stories that are being told. Superfine was one of my favorites
Ever.
So this year was really disappointing to see that the Met and Vogue kind of cozied up to an oligarch. A reason why the arts are deteriorating and why people can't make a living wage. And maybe if some of these motherfuckers paid, but they should in taxes, maybe we wouldn't have to have a gala to fund a museum to justify the need for a department of fashion
and costume history. Ironically, that idea that we're having, the conflict that we're swimming through about the Met Gala is like a pretty good lead-in to the Bridgerton episode we're discussing today.
Is it really?
I think so. Bridgerton Season 4, Episode 4. Guys, the episode that we're discussing today is titled An Offer from a Gentleman, which, if we haven't mentioned it enough fucking times by this point, is the name of Benedict's book in the Bridgerton series by Julia Quinn. I guess one of the reasons I bring up its similarity to like the Met Gala is like, here I am resenting rich people, as I always do. Instead of morning coffee, I morning resent rich people. And
it just really gets the blood flowing in the morning.
Absolutely, it does.
Really raged up to get through your day.
I could use my resentment of rich people to propel me into space. Like Jeff Bezos used his money to propel his wife into space. So,
oh God,
my resentment of rich people, this like unsustainable wealth gap that we're experiencing right now in the United States. And then watching Season 4 of Bridgerton, one of the first times meaningfully that we see the prolonged exploration of class differentials between our main characters. We've seen it before in side characters when Will Mondrich and Alice Mondrich were broke and he was a boxer, when he tried to be a business owner and then was like pushed out of business, and then when he suddenly became part of the nobility. I have a couple comments about that throughout this episode. Theo Sharp and his quote-unquote friendship with Eloise, we get these brief flashes of the folks of the Ton interacting with working people, obviously people that are not part of the leisure class, people who do not make a consistent passive income and don't live this very, very high-end, absolute top of the pyramid lifestyle. Rewatching this episode and doing my notes and stuff in the same week as the Met Gala, I don't know, it felt like strangely tied together.
I can see that for sure. I mean, We touched on this a bit the last episode on how the wealth gap between a family like the Bridgertons and the person like Sophie, and how the Bridgertons really, but they're still part of this society and a very important, a very big factor in upholding the systems that these people are affected by. Like in a class system, in a patriarchal system, they're very much a spoke in this wheel. Even though by like their relationships that they build and the people they meet, they're supposedly challenging these perspectives. But is it stopping them from continuing to participate in the society in the way that they do?
No. Yeah, because the thing with the Bridgertons that absolutely becomes apparent in season 4, it's been apparent the whole time, but I think season 4, especially because of the juxtaposition of what is happening in the real world, what's happening in Bridgerton land, what's happening in Mayfair, like they don't challenge power. And I think that's like the main issue we've had with Eloise, right? Like Eloise has all of these thoughts and opinions on like feminism and to a certain extent on class, but not closely enough to examine her own family and their role in the class system, as Paola just mentioned. But she has no real interest in changing anything because it would mean sacrificing her own comfort and sacrificing her own separation decision not to participate in society. She has more freedom afforded to her than women of a lower class do, because not only does she not have to work, but she has the family money to be like, I don't want to get married. And if I don't, I'll live and be fine because I have so much money. My family has so much money. That's not an option for other more normal fucking people at that point in time. Historically, at that point in time in the context of the show, that's not an option for people today who are fucking normal and come from normal families with normal amounts of money. Yeah. So it becomes more frustrating. Even if you're like us and you're like, I'm fully aware that this is fiction, it is romance, I'm trying to have a nice time. But here we are out in the world watching Jeff Bezos buy his wife a Met Gala. Here we are trying to watch the show that makes us feel good inside, and Benedict is trying to buy a mistress. Like, everything feels too similar. I was thinking about this earlier this week as I was doing my notes. Maybe that's part of why this season does not sing to me in the ways that previous Bridgerton seasons did. Something feels too close. It is not fantastical enough in its own way. My frustration with different members of the Bridgerton family just like continues to grow as I watch. Yeah, there are some character arcs, and I bring them up in like my summary of this episode, that I really like. Violet, Lady Danbury, like Alice Mondrich even. Like there are some really satisfying turns that some of these characters take, but the fact that no one is like, why the fuck are you guys so rich? Like there's just something, I just need someone more contrarian. I need like more of a foil. Even Sophie, in all of her like, I'm a maid and class and like, I need to know my place and you need to know your place, yada, yada, yada. There's no, why am I here and you're there?
It all follows the same playbook, which is, was she included in an inheritance? This isn't even something you necessarily earn. This is something you're entitled to. This is something you're entitled to. This is something that you're born into. That's what her whole story really revolves around. Like, oh, this is your birthright. The only example we really get of people who are working through and earning as they go is really the Mondriches.
Yes.
And even they had a title, quote unquote, fall on their lap, right? To be able to participate in this society. Like they were granted this thing by this, the government. So, and at the end, okay, you want to talk about buying your wife a ticket, buying somebody a ticket. I know we haven't gotten there yet. I'm getting way ahead of myself here. But at the end, the Bridgertons just buy Sophie's acceptance into the ton. There is no challenging of...
We're not restructuring anything.
We're not restructuring anything. We're not changing anything around here. We're still appeasing to the Queen's favor. And we're just changing the rules for certain people. Is really what it boils down to at the end. So, and again, we're here for the escapism, baby. That's why we love this show. This show came in 2020 at the height of the pandemic, exactly when we all needed it.
Yeah.
And it's still meant to give you that dose of escapism. But I think that with some of the shifts they made in the storyline, it's become frustrating because the hope of seeing change within some of these frustrating storylines, we're not seeing it come to fruition. They're just kind of leaving us like, okay, so we kind of saw like challenging the system from Eloise, and then that just kind of dropped. And then, okay, we're challenging the system again with Benedict, right? And getting into like his bohemian lifestyle. And then he just ends up changing the rules for someone else.
If I'm looking at Bridgerton incredibly cynically.
Oh yeah, no, you can't. You'll
can't.
blow it up.
You cannot fucking watch it. Like,
you'll throw it away.
If you guys are listening to this, if you've made it this far in our discussions on Bridgerton, like, you know how much we love the show, how much we're romance girls. Like, this is our shit. If I start to look at Bridgerton with my cynical middle of Donald Trump's second term brain, I'm not just burning the show to the ground. Netflix is out. We're rising up is like what it starts to do inside my brain. And that's why I can't lean into that feeling, because there is something, at least right now, incredibly frustrating about watching another piece of media about ridiculous wealth inequality, right? Things we're supposed to watch and covet. We're supposed to watch and be like, look at these incredible costumes because they are incredible. Look at these incredible interiors because they are incredible. We're supposed to watch rich people doing fuck all, and we're supposed to be like, but I want them to fall in love. I'm having a much more difficult time finding the escapism when aspects of the story feel way too close to different things about life right now. And so many parts of the story, much like our actual real lives, deal with issues in an individual sense. That's what shows are. I get that, you guys. Like, I know that that's what a show is, but like, we're dealing with things individually. We're bending the rules for one person. We're reestablishing the norms for one person. We are not challenging the framework that everybody's resentful of, that everyone's openly frustrated by. Like, watching this show tackling similar issues in such unsatisfying ways to find such unsatisfying conclusions just lists a little too closely to the climate that we're currently in. The escapism ain't escaping anymore. Like, the vibes are not vibing. I'm not feeling good, you guys. And maybe that's why I cannot vibe as much as I would want to with this season. So anyway, back to the love story. Let's all go back to being distracted by like Connor Story's arms or something, guys. I can't fucking think. My fucking brain hurts. Anyway, so we're talking about fucking Bridgerton, right? It's season 4. It's episode 4.
Oh. I'm so mad about it.
It's not even that I'm mad about it. I just, in 2020, when season 1 came out, it was like stepping into a parallel universe. The magic of it, the like fucking, obviously not Cinderella. I know thematically it wasn't a Cinderella-esque story, but the whole like atmosphere, it was so magical. It just feels like season 1 came at the right time with enough of the conflict that most of the women watching could identify with without feeling like, oh, I'm just looking into a mirror of what's happening in my world. Instead, it was like, oh, fuck, I get that. I've been in a situation where a man disregards my feelings or where a man does what he wants. I can fully understand all of that. I can empathize with it. I can lend it my rage, right?
Yeah. Well, I think each season wants to hold a mirror up. I think each season does hold a mirror up to an issue in society that is still very relevant today. Yes, sure, the pull of the show is obviously escapism and romance and watching these people fall in love and be beautiful. But then there's definitely a notch of, oh shit, these issues have been relevant for centuries. This issue that they're dealing with now is relevant in this way today. And how nothing has really changed or evolved. Honestly, it really is. You do see that. Like, women's fight for liberation, how like minutely the needle has been shifted. And
we're wearing pants, you guys.
We're wearing pants and we have jobs. We're wearing pants, we have jobs. And something that they do explore this season is, we do not have as much autonomy over our bodies either. So, you know, Bridgerton still does a bit of a balance of like, hey, This is shit that has existed and will exist forever because this is the type of society that's been built by the very people we're representing in the show.
Yeah.
So this season, what we're seeing is class difference. And I think the frustration is seeing like how it's being handled and then being like, well, that didn't fix anything. It really doesn't. It really is. You just see it fixed for these people who are very privileged. And that's
no
not very different from our world today, right?
I think that must be what it is. The class thing, they're just pretty much like, well, anyway.
I don't think they're not solving any problems. And
I also don't want to make it seem like we haven't had eyes on the fact that like class and financial mobility hasn't been integral to the show's themes the entire time it's been running. It absolutely has been, right? Like money and financial mobility and standing in society, that's been a factor in every romantic decision every single character has made throughout the entire show. And that's evident. There's just something about this season in particular that feels just like floppy wet fish to me. You know, where it's like, what the fuck are we talking about? There's something that is like lacking the sharp observation, because in season 1 with Daphne, the sharpness of her, not even financial precarity. Daphne's rich as fuck. Her precarity came in men dangling her fate in front of her fucking eyes, right? And her having very little power to control it. That was poignant. That's relevant to many, many women, right? Season 2, it took a very similar feeling of a lack of female autonomy in the Sharmas and the whole fucking trek that they needed to make to find a noble husband or whatever so that everybody could have enough money to fucking be alive. Like, that was a huge conflict. And then they also took it and gave it themes of grief and trauma. And now you're exploring a little bit more of the character's mental state while they're still needing to deal with, well, where are we getting the money for this? Well, who's getting married? Well, how are we setting this up, right? Like, and that's poignant. And now you're feeling different aspects to the same precarity of women not being able to choose their destinies. Season 3 gets a little bit muddy, right? Because now we weren't necessarily fitting the couple to the story. You're fitting the story to the couple. So for Colin and Penelope, there was a bit of like financial precarity because you got like that guy from the government being like, we need to verify the line of your blah, blah, blah. But that just felt more stupid than anything else. Like that just felt like unnecessary.
What I grabbed from season 3 is also what it means to be a working woman and trying to have a domestic life with a husband and trying to build a family and the challenges that brings. And society just expects you to drop your career, which is what they wanted Penelope to do. That's what everybody's telling, just let go of Whistledown. And that came through her husband as well.
Yeah.
Who was just like, why do you have to keep doing this thing? And like her having to decide, her having to be put in the position that she has to decide between her career and this man that she loves.
And him challenging his own masculinity and why he felt so
exactly.
threatened by her.
Yes, which was not done enough, okay?
I agree.
Wanted to tie that up right at the end.
Oh, because they had to talk about Cressida's wigs. And she had to be wearing a fucking peacock dress.
Benedict needed
Benedict had to have an orgy again.
For, 3 or 4 different scenes.
What are we talking about? Like, the focus was all over the place.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree with you. Right. It was like bringing up another aspect of how we challenge women's ability to make choices, right? And how she can choose to build her own family, build a business, have a relationship, be a breadwinner, right? How is she doing that? This season, to me, and we can have different opinions on this because I want to know what you think, it continues to feel muddier. Right? Because it's like, yes, we're continuing to pull that same big thread, right? Women's autonomy, the lack of decision making that women have, and how beholden in this society, but even today, where we arguably have so much more freedom and independence, how beholden women are to the whims of men, right? And how there are other women that will use that against each other, right? Not everyone is a girl's girl. Like, don't support all women. Some of you bitches are dumb. Like that, like that becomes apparent because you have Lady Penwood screwing over Sophie out of jealousy and greed. You have her own daughter acting out against Sophie because that's what her mother's modeling. Other people throughout the ton. The queen's not a fucking girl's girl. Like shit like that. Okay, that's still part of the story. And I like that. And it's not that it necessarily has a solution, right? Because it's not. It's too slippery of a fucking issue. It doesn't fit into the world that they've built and the world that they're pulling real life inspiration from. It didn't fit in back then. It doesn't fit into this fictional one. But there is something just very, I guess, frustrating and disempowering to. We're obviously getting ahead of ourselves because we've seen the entire season. And if you're listening to this, babe, I hope you have too. If not, spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. But you get to the fucking end, Paola, like you were saying before. And, oh yeah, we're just wrapping shit up with our money and our influence. There's no actual examination of like, and maybe this is what it is for me. It's not even the lack of examination. Benedict does not sacrifice anything. And if he does, it is not made explicit. And we're probably not going to find out about it until next season when they backfill some shit that he sacrificed for Sophie.
Well, I think his willingness to sacrifice, because he was going to move with Sophie to the country until Sophie was arrested and he found out that she's the lady in silver. Oh, and now we can make it work. So I think the sacrifice was in that he very firmly chose, this is what we're going to do. And I'm taking her, we're moving to the country. So this story is meant to be more of a fairy tale in that it's modeled after a Cinderella story. Mm-hmm. And so the whole thing is about like living in a fantastical world. Like everything is about like a hit of fantasy and everything. And you're supposed to kind of, I guess, find the escapism in this fantasy. Mm. And I think where the challenge comes in is maybe Alice Mondrick to the Queen, where she's like, you are ignoring most of your population. You're ignoring the stories of these women and this world simply because they don't fit into what you deem is a valuable society. Like, and I think that's where the challenge comes in Alice being like, you're missing the good gossip. You're missing what you want because you won't look, because you won't acknowledge the existence of these people, because you think that they're less than you. But this is where you're going to find valuable stories. These people are valuable. Their stories are valuable. So I think ultimately the message is for the Queen. To say, look beyond yourself. Almost like a parallel maybe to Queen Charlotte, where Agatha has to tell her, look beyond your walls. There's more than just what's in here. And so I guess in that way, Alice kind of challenges that at the end. Like you're missing a whole lot of world because you refuse to acknowledge the value of these people simply because they're of a lower class. And that's almost like Alice is coming up as well. Like I was one of them not that long ago. And look where I am now. And my story is just as valuable as Lady Danbury's story. Ultimately, that's the messaging. Nothing really changed. We didn't see the change happening. Maybe we'll see the change happening in the next season. We'll maybe see that influence start to take place, right? With Alice next to the Queen. Maybe that's a setup. These are working class people. This is how they came up, and this is how they're gonna start to inject influence into the society.
This is one of those moments where I'm like, you're better than me at watching shows. And you make me better at watching shows. So I'm really glad that I coerced you into doing a podcast with me.
But I understand. I mean, I felt the same frustration. I was like, oh, so nothing really changes. She just gets a pass. But you do realize that Queen Charlotte lets her get that pass. She fully realizes what's happening in that room.
She's being hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray.
She's taking from what Alice has told her. And so maybe the hope is that we continue to see that change. Maybe the message is that change comes in increments. The message is also maybe it's generational, right? Look, for example, where Alice started, where she's at now. Guys, I know we're way ahead of ourselves. Where she's at by the end of the show, and then how she starts to influence in the same way that Agatha started to influence the Queen. So maybe in that influence starts like that, little by little, by people coming up and surpassing the expectations that society puts on them. But you know who doesn't do that? Eloise.
Stop talking about me like that.
No. I mean, like, she hasn't evolved.
No, she hasn't.
But anyway.
And don't worry, guys. She has at least 2 more years before she has to evolve. Literally. Claudia Jessie is going to be retirement age by the time they let Eloise have a fucking story.
So definitely as frustrating as it is as you're watching that, and you're making those connections to kind of real life and those connections feel a little too connected. By the end, it all kind of feels like it came together a little too easily. I'm left with that message of hope in that the change comes from people who surpass those expectations set upon them and come into positions of power or of influence, however small, and then continue to influence little by little in the same way that we've seen Lady Danbury do, in the same way that she noticed something in Alice Mondrich and then put her in a position to influence the most powerful person in this society. And so hopefully we're going to see that change moving forward. So that's my hope. That's what's going to keep me watching next season. That and Michaela. But anyway.
LOL.
Let's get into it.
They should put you on a real show. Not this rinky-dink operation.
I am in a real show. I'm on Sisflix Podcast.
All right. I think, as we all know, again, if you've been avid listeners of Sisflix Pod, thank you, first of all, for being here. I don't know how much of this I'm leaving in or how much I edited out, but I hope you enjoyed this discussion, and we can all agree, I think, if you want to take a moment of silence or a brief moment of applause, that Paola makes watching things better. Because I was just sitting on my couch, seething, taking my notes like a rancid bitch, and Paola comes in like, I just think it's a symbol of change, and I'm like, and now my mind's been changed. Like, I'm gonna, I'll start crying.
Just find a little silver lining.
Yeah.
Like
the silver
Sophie's silver dress.
All right,
like the
wrap
silver
it up.
lady.
Episode's over. Just kidding. But you know what? The episode has barely fucking started, you guys, because we haven't started talking about it. So, after that delicious discussion, thank you, sister, for being better just as a person.
Oh, thank you, sister, for being open to my...
Thank you, Nadhya, for making such intense snap judgments. And then being open to me changing your mind. Okay. I've mentioned it before. I'll say it again. What the fuck are we talking about? We're talking about Bridgerton, Season 4, Episode 4. Once again, titled An Offer from a Gentleman. Our short back of the book / back of the Netflix show synopsis for Episode 4 goes as follows. Eager to focus on her new role, Sophie finds her longing for Benedict is hard to shake. Francesca broaches a sensitive topic. Violet hosts tea for two. Tea for two. Ooh, and two for tea.
A little tea for two, a little tit for tat.
This episode was directed by Jafar Mahmoud. The top credited writers for episode 4 are Eli Wilson Pelton, Elizabeth Reichelt, and Julia Quinn, the author of the Bridgerton book series. All right, after that brief synopsis, let's get into the fucking episode, you guys. The episode opens with Benedict and Sophie on his carriage riding through the picturesque English countryside in just like the most tense, awkward silence, okay? They arrive to London, and ostensibly Benedict will be dropping Sophie off with her quote-unquote new employer, right? That's her belief. She starts asking if he knows her new employer well, if they're kind, and he's like, yeah, I know them quite well. I think they're great. And you're like, Benedict, you bitch, you're gonna have Sophie work in your fucking house? Sophie will be working for Lady Bridgerton at Bridgerton House. At this point, they're in front of Bridgerton House. They've dismounted the carriage. It's the worst green screen I've ever seen on Bridgerton.
Now, to be fair, in the book, he wasn't living at the house.
He was living at his bachelor lodgings.
Yes, and his mother had like an apartment, like a different home. I think it was like her number 5. Home. And so she would have been working in a completely different household to where Benedict lived. However, here in the show, that's not the case. Not necessarily. I mean, he had his bachelor lodgings, but as he's playing Viscount, he Viscounts from Bridgerton House.
Yes, good context. And Sophie, again, just against an offensive green screen, says, I cannot work for you. And Benedict lets her know that she'll actually be working for his mother. Isn't that okay and fine and normal? And she tries to refuse and also leave on foot. Sophie loves an angry walk, okay? She loves an angry, unreasonable walk away from a carriage. Benedict lets her know, like, hey, dog, listen, I asked my friends, right? Like, I promised you that I would ask around for you, and I fucking did. And all of their wives were told not to hire you. Because you know who else has made good on their word? Lady motherfucking Penwood, who was like, I'm going to tell everyone not to hire your bitch ass. So Benedict says, listen, dog, like, I don't know how else to help you. It's a big fucking house. Like, you'll never see me. So what if you just, like, fucking relax and do something good, like, for yourself? What if you did that?
You know what I thought was crazy? That she was like, had she known, she would have just stayed at the Cavenders.
Insane behavior.
My girl.
If you don't shut the fuck up. And Benedict's like, okay, and then what else would have happened? Oh, worse shit? Great. Sophie begrudgingly agrees. She walks forward into Bridgerton House, closely followed by Benedict. We see them being welcomed into the great hall of the home by Lady Bridgerton herself and Mrs. Wilson, HBIC. After introductions, Lady Bridgerton pulls Benedict aside to let him know that, like, hey, there are no open positions right now, you know? And, like, I've asked around about Sophie, and I've heard that she's not to be trusted. That is bad. Because you know what we don't have in 1817 or whatever fucking year it's supposed to be? We don't have LinkedIn.
We don't have Yelp. There's no Google reviews.
We can't own the narrative, okay? Whatever people are saying about you is what other people will believe. So Benedict tells her, don't listen to the haters, Mom. Do me this favor, take Sophie on because she saved my life. And then he shows Lady Bridgerton his wound that is now turning into a scar that someone in the makeup department drew on with lip liner. And Lady Bridgerton is like, oh shit, she saved your fucking life. Just kidding. We could find a job for her. That's great. Money's infinite, right? We're Bridgertons. She speaks briefly to Sophie and is like, wow, she's so educated. She speaks French, Latin. She can read, she can write, she mends, she sews. This is so impressive for a maid. What kind of maid are you, from space? Between her and Mrs. Wilson, they're like, yes, girl, we'll take you on. We could use a lady's maid for Hyacinth and Eloise, right? Hyacinth is getting taller and more gorgeous each and every day as Sophie is led to her new room in the servants' quarters in just like the infinite Bridgerton home. This home has no end, okay? Benedict breaks off to go to his study, which is upstairs. And so we get this very symbolic shot of him ascending the stairs while Sophie prepares to ostensibly descend into the lower levels of Bridgerton House to walk around the servants' quarters, right?
And where their social standing at the moment.
And after that, we get title card, Tree of Life, Bridgerton.
No storm tree, so we're okay.
Under Lady Whistledown's voiceover, we see Violet and Lord Anderson twirling pinkies in the Bridgerton drawing room, if you guys don't make out, and shying away when they're interrupted by Mrs. Wilson, who we see smirking as she's on her way out of the room. Mrs. Wilson is with the shit, okay? Cut over from there to the Queen walking through her home with Lady Danbury, followed by a small army of ladies in waiting. She's wearing an incredible wig. She's wearing this black and gold embellished Georgian court gown that, you know what was giving me? And I'm not looking like so terribly closely dissecting all of these costumes, but it was giving me fashion and the Catholic imagination at the Met.
Heavenly Bodies.
Heavenly Bodies, thank you. That was one of those years that I was like,
2018, damn!
I was like, what if I changed my life? What if I demolish my career? What if I become a historian?
Like, this is why I went into fashion design.
Literally. We continue back in Bridgerton land to see these like blue and red flowers in Queen Charlotte's hair, right? Regardless of which wig she's wearing. We also see Lady Danbury get distracted by an old portrait of young Queen Charlotte and herself in a group of ladies in waiting from her youth.
And I think what you're also seeing here is like the evolution, because you walk into this scene and you're seeing like this small army of people behind her just carrying shit. Lady Danbury looks up at this portrait and it's almost like a reminder not only of their friendship, but of a simpler time.
Slightly more humble beginnings.
Of a humbler Queen Charlotte, you know what I mean? It was like an important reminder. I guess going back to kind of what I mentioned before, like remembering like where you came from and who helped you get there and who helped you get to where you are. And I think that that's part of Queen Charlotte's journey this season.
We cut from there, from the palace. We see Mrs. Wilson back at Bridgerton House, leading Sophie through the Bridgerton servants' areas, right? So these are the lower levels of the house, showing her around the laundry, the kitchens, where many many employees. Holy fuck, the Bridgertons have a big staff, especially the contrast between the staff at Penwood House and the staff at Bridgerton House, where these folks are like giggling, they're laughing, they're having water cooler coworker talk, they're chilling. There's never been a worker collective. They're unionized over a Bridgerton
These are
house.
the happiest employees you've ever seen.
Girl.
They're unionized.
They get healthcare. They get paid time off. They get parental leave. Like, they're making HR videos about the people working at Bridgerton House. They're like, look at what a great staff they are. Like, everyone's moving around really efficiently. You can tell Mrs. Wilson runs that place like the fucking Navy, but she's also kind. She's stern, but she's kind. She's a good person. We knew that already about Mrs. Wilson. She introduces Sophie to the kitchen staff, where we see Footman John, hey bae, as he chats with her and is like immediately flirting with her, which is hilarious. And Sophie is like the new girl in the office who left the abusive work environment because she just keeps being like, why is everybody happy? Like, this is weird. Why are people having a nice time? Like, why are you talking to me? As soon as she's asked by Celia, the other maid that we see kind of like working closely with Mrs. Wilson, what kind of home she came from, she says there were only 8 employees and she did all of the work that they're listing being done by like literal different teams. This is giving so much corporate America right now, you guys. Everybody's like, what? Like, if there's a class system among servants of the houses, Bridgertons are at the top. And they're like, what the fuck do you mean you did mending and kitchen stuff and cleaning and ladies maiding? Like, what do you mean? They're shocked. Sophie is like observing, right? Like these working dynamics at Bridgerton House. And she offers to help carry up some food because she's seeing that all of the serving staff is preparing for the arrival of Gregory Bridgerton, in addition to some of the other Bridgerton family members. And Mrs. Wilson's like, girl, that is not your job. Your job is not to carry food. You're ladies maiding, okay? You're not food carrying. We've got employees for that. And Celia's like, no, it's like fine. She clearly is unwell and needs my guidance. So let her help me carry stuff. We see Gregory Bridgerton returning home from Eton with a little brown dust on his chin as the entire family comes to greet him in the hall, which is so sweet. But like, we already know what our Bridgertons are like, right? Like, they get on each other's nerves, but they also love each other like a lot. And Sophie's just watching them all interact, like, I don't want to say enviously. It's almost like she's wistful. Like, she's like, ugh, how nice that is, that this is what they're like.
Well, if you think about her sibling situation.
Fuck those people, dude. Except Posey. She's the only one worth a damn, as I've said.
Yeah, but she wasn't even allowed to display that. She had to do that in secret.
Yeah. What follows this loving little scene is a brief montage of the Bridgerton family interacting, right? Like little vignettes of the Bridgertons around each other that Sophie kind of observes from a distance. We see Gregory getting his first shave as Colin and Benedict are watching, because that's something they have to be present for, I guess. And it devolves into a shaving cream fight because they're all just like making fun of each other, and it's like very cute. And then we see a maid scrubbing up all of the shaving cream that was left around the fucking room.
It's like this little moment where you realize, like, oh, you know, you see them have like these family activities and they're having a good time.
And tea and games and
all of that. And then now you're seeing the work that costs everyone, and how they, the Bridgertons, are just do this without thinking. They don't have to think about who's going to clean up. They don't have to think about the aftermath of anything. It just gets done.
Yeah, they're Bridgertons.
And then you just see the staff cleaning up after this mess. And it kind of like holds up a mirror a little bit, takes you out of it for a second. Like, oh shit, these fucking privileged motherfuckers, like, don't give a shit. But they're nice.
And we like them.
But we nice.
But it's also, this is why they're nice and have fun. This is a very similar way to how I feel about like class differences and like poverty crisis, etc. in the US. People are always like that it's expensive to be poor. It is literally expensive to be poor. And when you are freaking out about money all the time, you're not fun and nice. You're not nice to your family. You're not nice to people at work. You're not happy about things when you go to the store. Like, you're not having a good time, right? The Bridgertons are having a great fucking time. You know what they're not worried about? Money. Like, it's so much easier to be chill and cool and pleasant when you're not fucking worried about money. I feel like that's a thing people cannot process, like, in the modern era.
We saw what Anthony went through season 2 because all he worries about
Is money.
fucking finances.
Yeah, no, that's true. Anthony was not having a good time.
Miserable all the time.
He was a rancid bitch. Like, Anthony was terrible. So yeah, okay, so we've seen a little bit of that dichotomy in the same family, but now we're seeing it more starkly with the serving staff working all the time, and the Bridgertons are fucking chilling, having a great time throwing shaving cream around like animals. We see Sophie helping Hyacinth dress as her lady's maid. Again, Hyacinth is just getting more gorgeous every day. And we see Benedict talking to Lady Bridgerton about helping him find the lady in silver. Lady Bridgerton is all too happy to help. We see Sophie encountering Hazel, hey girl, in the servants area of Bridgerton House as a newly hired maid, as per Benedict's word. For those of us who may not remember, Hazel is the other maid who was about to get assaulted at the Cavender house that Sophie saved from getting assaulted and then got herself fired for it. So her deal with Benedict was like, listen, I'll work for you if you help find my friend a job, because she needs one too. And he did. And they're both at Bridgerton House. And it seems like Bridgerton House is like the party house, place to be at. So I think Sophie got them both a pretty good deal. And when Hazel sees her, she's like overjoyed. She says the heavens provide. Or in this case, Mr. Bridgerton. Good thing he is a man of his word. Okay, Queen.
Working in Bridgerton is like working at Google in like 2012.
Oh my God. You're so fucking right. So from there, we go to Sophie observing Hyacinth's finishing lessons as Eloise stubbornly reads in the corner, trying her best to ignore her. Hyacinth really tries to get Eloise to pay attention, right? Because the deal that we had made was like, Eloise isn't going to be on the marriage mark. Great. You're going to hang out with Hyacinth in all her fucking classes. Maybe that'll make you better at being a woman, Eloise.
Question, why does Eloise have to pay attention though?
I know, she's already done it, you could assume.
Unless she's there to also help out. Like, since I already did this, so I'm giving you a hand in trying to understand what you're learning. I mean, Eloise hated all the things she was learning.
You read Eloise's book, so you could give me a little bit more context on this.
Oh, no, none of this is included in Eloise's book. Eloise's book doesn't really start until she's already been a spinster for some time.
Like, Eloise as a character in the books is like quite different from Eloise, the way that they've written her into the show. Is that correct?
I mean, if you're talking about like her contempt for the marriage mark, yeah, I feel like I didn't get contempt from her.
Right.
It was just, she wasn't interested in participating. I mean, it wasn't like this, I refuse, or there wasn't any political anything. There wasn't much about feminism, just like how shitty it feels to be kind of ignored as a person once you're considered a spinster.
In the same scene, Hyacinth is trying to get Eloise to pay attention. Like, look at the stuff I'm doing in my fucking finishing class. And Eloise is basically like, girl, fuck that. Mom's not winning this round by making me supervise your fucking classes with you. I don't give a shit about this. And I'm not giving anyone this victory. Hyacinth is like, okay, well, do you want to talk about like some books I've read? Like, I've read a book about ballerinas. Do you want to talk about my ballerina book? And that just abstractly does sound very juvenile, my ballerina book, but that's Hyacinth being like, well, Eloise likes to read and she likes books. Here's a book I've read. What if we talk about that? Then she's like, I can show you my ribbon collection. Like, you can hang out with me.
Be my sister for a second. Eloise is pretty much like, I'm not going to be influenced by this.
Right.
And then she's like, I should be the one influencing you. Meanwhile, is Eloise really trying to make any effort in influencing her at all? She's not. She thinks she's influencing her by treating her with contempt. As opposed to, oh, hey, here's some stuff I've been doing.
Yeah.
Or, hey, look at this book. You know what? I'll give your book a try. You give this book a try. And then Hyacinth is kind of like, why do we have to influence each other? Like, why can't I just like what I like and you like what you like?
Right.
And we can talk about that.
Eloise, it's almost like she has like a block in her mind, right? Because I don't think she processes that there are people who genuinely enjoy aspects of the marriage more. There are people who are genuinely invested. I want to be married and find a husband. I want to have my own home. I want to have children. Like,
it's like, why would you want that?
she can't interact with any of those ideas in good faith, because I think in her mind, it's all suppression. You only believe this because you've been brainwashed by society and the patriarchy. And it's like, sure, maybe to an extent, you see the 3 possibilities of your life and you're like, this one feels the least shitty, so I'm going to want that. Great. Maybe that's true, but it also means that she doesn't give anyone's version of their desires any respect. She doesn't give anyone's vision for their own future. Again, another facet of feminism is allowing all women to make the choices they want, whether the choice they want is to bake bread from scratch every day for 17 kids on a farm, or the choice they want is to be the miserable Hallmark girlfriend who's in business. Like, those 2 options and everything fucking in between and everything outside of them should be at a woman's disposal, because she should be the one making the choice. That is the whole point, right? So she's not a very good feminist in that way. And anytime someone's like, yeah, getting married would be sick because I love boys. I'd love to have my own kids. That'd be so awesome. She's like, ew, gross. Shut up. I don't want to talk about it. You're trying to change me. And it's like, I don't think me saying the things I want is trying to change you, but sure.
Wait until she finds out about the pinnacle.
No. Eloise is simply not mature enough to find out about the pinnacle. Dios. And Sophie, in the drawing room, overhearing this conversation between Hyacinth and Eloise, as Hyacinth kind of indignantly is like, well, the ballerina book I just read is about this one specific ballerina. Have you read it? Do you know anything about it? Sophie's like, oh, I've read that book. Like, it's really good. That ballerina was like really important and iconic. Both Eloise and Hyacinth are like, what? You read this book? Why? Sophie mentions, like, I really like this author. And Eloise is like, oh, have you read this one book by them? And she's like, no, but I read this other one and I didn't really like it for XYZ, but I really thought that this was good about it, blah, blah, blah. And now suddenly, Sophie has Eloise's respect. She read the book Hyacinth was talking about, but because it's coming from Sophie, Eloise can respect it. When it's coming from Hyacinth, she can't.
Mm-hmm. That's what stood out to me. It's like, wait, so she literally just read the same book, but you didn't have the same interaction with her.
Mm-hmm. But you're surprised because she's a maid.
She's actively dismisses Hyacinth because Hyacinth represents what Eloise rejects about ladies in society. She represents this thing that she's so against. So she automatically dismisses her no matter what. However, coming from Sophie, it sounds more interesting. And my thing's like, you could have had that same interaction with your sister. Like, oh, have you read this other book? No. Oh, you know what? Let's trade books. Mm-hmm. But no, you have to shit on her just because she has different interests than you and feels like the need to bring her down about it. She needs to make her feel bad about her interests.
Luckily, Hyacinth just seems to have really strong character. Like, she just seems to be very aware of who she is and what she likes, right? And so she's able to kind of defend herself even with Eloise's bullshit. But I think a person of like a slightly weaker constitution would not. Eloise favorably engages with Sophie about other books and is like, oh, we'll have to trade books sometime.
And as a Sophie stan, you're like, oh, well, she got Eloise's approval. You kind of feel good about that. But then you feel sad for Hyacinth because you're like, you just really dismissed her.
We cut from there to Francesca and John in the sitting room of their own home. And this bitch is wiggling around like she's got ants in her pants, like she has to go pee, and decides to like spontaneously, passionately kiss her husband. That's nice. I genuinely, truly, I really like a lot of the dynamic between Francesca and John because he is such a sweet character.
He's just like a pure person.
Oh my God. Every time John speaks more words, you're like, oh, wow, he's incredible. Like clone
he's got,
him.
Like this deep, like
he's got a lovely
voice too.
And then you realize like, oh, Francesca's the weird one. And I don't mean weird. I mean like she is so awkward that even she has difficulty verbalizing conversations she wants to have with John. Yeah. She has so much difficulty accessing, right, different parts of herself. And so she kisses her husband, and I'm watching this with my husband, and he's just like, do these people not fucking kiss? Like, what are we aren't they newlyweds? Like, what are we doing?
So 2 things. Francesca to me gives like this person who's constantly overthinking. Like she's constantly calculating everything in her brain. And for me, like, I feel that anxiety within Francesca, or that tension within Francesca of like, am I peopling the right way? It's almost like how I feel. I think what I get from them as a couple is what I feel is probably more realistic to this time, when you're marrying people you don't really know that well, and you're getting to know each other, and you're getting to know what works for each other and what doesn't work. And I feel like this awkwardness in these early stages is more expected. This is giving you a different example of, these are two people who are not only getting to know each other, but they're getting to know themselves. Like, Francesca's learning about herself right now. She married within the same season she made her debut. She's meant to be about 19 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Fresh out of her debut, she kind of approached marriage with this like very like kind of almost like a checklist. Like, I got to go do this so that I could do this so that I could do this. You know, she clicked with John and they got married. They didn't really get to know each other. They're doing all of that right now. It's sweet to see that happening with a partner like John,
because he gives her a lot of room. Like, I think something else about John is like, he's also awkward.
Well, he's very patient, very understanding.
Exactly. Like,
he meets people where they are, because he's not as awkward. You see him interacting with the other guys. He goes to White's and he meets them where they are. Then you see him later on interacting with his cousin, and he seems to meet people where they're at all times.
After she kisses him, right? Again, suddenly and very passionately, John asks what she did that for. And she begrudgingly replies that she wanted to be, quote, more spontaneous and enjoy tea with her husband. Yo, and if there's one thing that the ladies Bridgerton have in common, is they be wanting to have some tea.
They need tea. They need to figure out this tea situation.
Who is having the tea? Tea for two? Back at the servants' quarters at Bridgerton House, we see our favorites of the serving staff enjoying a game with their dinner, as Hazel claims to have, quote, the gift of second sight, end quote, also known as psychic powers.
This is a very funny scene.
It is. It's very cute. Also, this is like way in the background. This is like tertiary, quaternary. This is the first time we see a little spark of something between Hazel and Footman John, which I think is very cute. And here we also learn that a new occupant is going to move into the house next to Bridgerton House, right there in Mayfair. No one knows who they are. They've just noticed people are coming and going. It's a woman on her own. They see the house is getting ready for someone to move in. And everybody's just idly like, I wonder who it could be. And Celia wonders if it could be a well-to-do mistress. Ooh. And suddenly that's when the game's not fun anymore, because Mrs. Wilson's like, no mistresses would live in this neighborhood. Stop it.
She was almost offended.
Oh, yeah.
By the idea that a mistress would move to that part of the neighborhood where she works.
Not in Mayfair. Sophie looks down awkwardly, right? Because Sophie has to take all of the shit about mistresses to heart from what we learned about her mother. After an awkward moment in which Mrs. Wilson kind of tries to break the tension and asks Sophie if she has any special talents like Hazel. And Sophie's basically like, nope, not a single one. I don't have a personality. I've only ever worked. Can somebody give me a task, please?
I don't even have a hobby.
I've never felt joy. Like, I don't know what to tell you. The whole serving staff kind of breaks and they're like, all right, well, we have to go prepare the ladies Bridgerton for their dinner tonight at Lady Danbury's. Cut from there to Lady Bridgerton at her dressing table, observing more miniatures of the single ladies of the time who might fit Benedict's description of the lady in silver. Mrs. Wilson announces that the carriages are ready, and Lady Bridgerton, because we know she's awkward, she was never able to give her daughters the sex talk. For a woman who's had 8 fucking kids, she's been really weird about discussing sex, right? And you know she had to have it like a lot. So in her...
Oh, is she Francesca's mother?
Bueno. And dude, and I felt it so deep when Daphne was like, you didn't tell me anything! You lied to me! Because I was like, wow.
Like, I wonder the conversation she had with Francesca. We saw the awkwardness last episode of Francesca asking about the pinnacle.
And Lady Bridgerton just being like, I think I might kill myself.
And she literally couldn't. So I'm like, wait, hold on. What happened on the night of the wedding talk? Maybe it was on Daphne.
Yeah.
Like, she pushed it onto her. Like, hey, go talk to your sister.
So Lady Bridgerton is very awkwardly trying to make a request of Mrs. Wilson. She's like stuttering through it. She's being very nonspecific. And then she's like, all right, listen, like, what would I do if I wanted to have tea with someone alone? And Mrs. Wilson, she's a fucking ride or die. She's no slouch. And she's dealing with this shit factually, okay? She's like, all right, this is how it's gonna go. We're gonna get your family out of the fucking house. I'm gonna tell the servants, you got the night off. You ain't gotta go home. You gotta get the hell up out of here. We're gonna set up this tea for you. And I'll be around if you need me to help you with your fucking gowns, if you need me to help you get undressed, the thing women can't do by themselves. I'll help you. I'll be here for you, my girl, my queen.
My favorite shit. She's like, everybody has tea.
That sent me.
Everybody has tea. And you have to live your life. I was like, yes, bitch.
Say that. She says everybody's got to find their own happiness. And what she does say to Lady Bridgerton is life is meant to be lived in a rare moment of sentimentality, right? Because Mrs. Wilson is usually more business than anything else. Violet kind of processes that, and then we see her glance down at the miniature portrait she keeps of Edmund on her dressing table. I would love to see even like a flashback from the perspective of one of the Bridgerton children, or like maybe a Violet herself having a flashback of like an interaction between her and Edmund.
I think they might be working on a prequel.
I would be fucking obsessed with that. I would love a prequel about Violet and Edmund.
There has been murmurings of doing kind of a Queen Charlotte-esque prequel about Violet and Edmund meeting and their love story.
I would love that shit. I would love that shit. I would eat that shit
up.
right up.
Oh
delicious.
My God.
We cut from there to Benedict running into Sophie in one of the hallways of the Bridgerton home as he's pulling through the final topmost button on his shirt. You know, they have like a pretty amicable interaction. And he asks her, I mean, kind of unseriously, because she seems to be much happier working at Bridgerton House. He's like, are you still mad at me for getting you this job here, babe, at my family company? She's like, no, dude, I'm not. Everyone's so fucking nice, and your sisters are lovely. Thank you so much for hiring Hazel. I know you promised, but it's just really sick that you did something you promised, considering the fact that you're a man. And she asks if he will also be joining the Danbury House dinner. And he's like, girl, thank God, I am not. It's only for ladies. His entire neck is out during this scene in a way that was distracting. His whole fucking neck. Like,
as he's trying to button
trying to button the shirt because he doesn't have a cravat on, which is what keeps, right, the two kind of sides of the collar together and covers up the neck. But his whole fucking neck is out. It's so slutty. And
slutty little neck.
Slutty little neck. He says to Sophie, do you remember like how at my cottage you asked me if I ever felt out of place? And Sophie doesn't really respond. She just kind of gives him a weird look. And he's like, never mind. And throughout the entire chat, as I mentioned, Benedict is struggling with the topmost button on his shirt. Not necessarily so much for men, definitely for women, but people of this upper echelon of society always had someone helping them with their clothing. So the clothing wasn't necessarily made for easy putting on, like self-application, right? Like certain types of clothing, again, for that part of society, was made with the idea that other people would be helping you with it. So who's lacing up their own corset when the laces are in the back? Who's buttoning all of these insane fucking buttons? Who's making all of these intricate knots? It's probably not you. It's probably someone helping you do it. So he's struggling with this little button. Sophie's like, do you need my help? And he's like, yeah, it's just a small button. I can't find my valet, the guy who helps me put on my clothes. I'm a Viscount. And they very slowly gaze into each other's eyes, and it's like intense. It's also too much and not enough. Sorry, the specter of Anthony and Kate will haunt me for the rest of my life, right? So,
and in turn haunt me.
Sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Cancel the podcast anytime. Sophie gets his button and walks off as Benedict watches her yearningly, just absolutely bedeviled with yearning.
You know, I think this button, not just the button, right? The whole neck, right? The whole collar out.
And we talked about this a little bit, I think, in episode 2, but go on.
This button, in this instance specifically, this button becomes sort of like a symbol because it's so prominent. He keeps messing with it, right? To me, becomes sort of like this symbol for this kind of limbo that we see Benedict in between like who he wants to be, who he has to be. Because throughout the season, we often see him unbuttoned, shirt loose, open, in moments where he feels comfort or freedom. Like, this is how we saw him in the opening scene. This is how we saw him at the masquerade ball. This is how we see him through his stay at my cottage, where he felt free from expectations, free from duties. And then we see him in moments where he feels he has to like assume his role in society. He buttons up. He has his cravat on. He's fully dressed to meet this perceived expectation of who he's supposed to be. In these moments, he's buttoned up. So his story throughout this time is like his identity between these two worlds, him wanting to be this bohemian, carefree person versus him having to assume this role in society. And so here we see him struggling with this button that he can't get a grip on. And as he's telling Sophie how he feels out of place, she helps him with the button, putting it in place. Almost symbolizes how she helps him find his place and settles him. It can also be interpreted as Benedict between this memory of the Lady in Silver, right? Between this fantasy and the reality of Sophie who's standing right in front of him.
That's a theme that I think becomes apparent throughout this episode. Like, what is fantasy versus what is reality, and what's worth chasing, right? Is it worth chasing what's tangibly in front of you, or is it worth chasing an idea? Yeah.
And so I think it's so symbolic to have Sophie help him place that button, because she ultimately is the common denominator between these two aspects of his life, between the fantasy and this reality. And so subconsciously, she's helping him find his place.
Guys, and don't forget, the real button is the friends we made along the way. So
the real button is the one he finds at the end of this episode.
Okay. I'm tendering my resignation. I mean, we'll get there. Save that. From this hallway scene, we cut to Lady Danbury's dinner event, where the ladies are drinking in the drawing room with Francesca and Alice Mondrich. They're discussing Benedict's search for a wife through Lady Whistledown, and Penelope muses on Lady Whistledown now being a tool for Her Majesty the Queen and the hungry mamas of the town. Because now she's like, was revealing myself empowering, or was it actually just making myself a target? People are starting to use Lady Whistledown in different ways now that they know who the person is behind it.
They're using her as a tool. They're soliciting her.
Exactly. Alice offers to help Lady Bridgerton find the Lady in Silver, because she kind of offhandedly says, well, I could do with a purpose. That is a deep and very sad statement. At this, Lady Danbury kind of perks up and looks like she is cooking up a plan. And if there's anything we know about Lady Danbury, she'd be planning.
I mean, she had a plan that has started to cook up, but I think that is further driven by this statement from Alice. When you think about Alice and where she comes from and what her lifestyle used to be, you can imagine the restlessness that she feels. And that's something that they haven't really showed this season. I feel like you saw it more last season.
With Will.
I guess this is the way that they kind of tap into that, but I would have liked to see that within her home. I would have liked to see that in conversations with Will, to show a person who wants to feel valuable, like she's participating in society, wants to feel like they're making some type of a difference, which is something we saw Will struggling with last season. Not so much Alice. We kind of just see Lady Danbury making that decision for her. I would have liked to see Alice
make it for herself.
Make it for herself, but also bring forth that need for herself.
I agree. From this conversation, Violet steps away and starts chatting with Francesca at another table. Francesca is wearing like a really Edwardian looking gown. So she's wearing a gown with like a high fitted neck, like turtleneck style. That
interesting.
Yes, I did too. Even some of the gowns she wore last season, very Edwardian, very of a different future era of Bridgerton world.
I saw this dress and it made me kind of go back and see the dresses she wore for the rest of the episode. And I'm like, oh, are they this high neck? Because it automatically gave me this feeling of constraint. Again, like the necks being kind of like a theme this episode, exposing this vulnerability.
Very Diane Keaton in Something's Gotta Give.
Yes.
Someone get a pair of scissors and then pretend you can rip a cashmere sweater open.
To symbolize kind of like this rigidness or,
Yeah.
or kind of like this rule following, or, you know, that paired very well with like who we're seeing Francesca be at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't stick. She does wear all different types of gowns. So I was like, oh, but this one she wore in this scene with this high neck, I was like, it feels constraining and rigid in the way almost that I feel like she feels.
Mm-hmm. And even like the sleeves are very puffy and kind of over the top. They're also long sleeves. This is and when I say the Edwardian era, I mean that's the monarch immediately following Queen Victoria, King Edward.
2 monarchs later.
Yeah.
I did notice that the puffy sleeve is her thing, though.
Mm.
Most of her dresses have a prominent puffy sleeve.
Yeah. That combined with the high neck, I was like, oh, this is really giving me 1890s, which, again, they did do a little bit of in season 3, specifically with her character, which I thought was very interesting. And Violet asks Francesca to host a family dinner soon because she's like, listen, bitch, I got to get my tea on the calendar, okay? I got to make some arrangements. And Francesca self-consciously replies that neither she nor John are ready for it. She's like, I don't know if the house is ready. I don't know if we're ready to host. That's like a lot. Violet's like,
oh, so next week, right?
Literally, girl, just host it. What do you mean?
She's like, okay, a week should be enough for you to be ready. That's good.
Right?
Okay.
Is that enough? 7 days? You have a staff. And before Violet can get any deeper, she hears Eloise loudly chatting with Hyacinth, exclaiming like, wow, she's read half the books in our library. And Violet turns around and she's like, who are you talking about? And Eloise is like, my new lady's maid is extraordinary. Francesca mentions that it's odd for Sophie to be that educated, but she says it kind of just like offhandedly, like no intent behind it. And we see Violet, shifty eyes, drinking nervously. We cut to the gentlemen at White's Club. Now we see Colin, Benedict, Will Mondrich, and John Sterling. Colin asks Benedict if he's found his lady in silver. And it's clear that Benedict is getting really discouraged and the passage of time is not helping, right? Because we've already mentioned at this point, it's probably been at least a month and a half, probably closer to 2 months. At this point, Benedict's kind of like wavering, slumped over in an armchair. We see Benedict's friend that we met at the Cavender party who was like, Benedict, I've got amazing news. I'm getting a mistress. We see him arrive at White's with his mistress, Miss Virginia, in tow. And I'm going to ask you, Paola, because you probably know better than I do, is this the first time we're seeing a woman at White's who is not openly a sex worker?
No, we saw women at White's.
Okay.
In the first season. You don't see ladies of the ton at White's, but you see other women in society that don't necessarily qualify as a lady.
Great. The other thought I had while watching the scene, which Paola, you can answer for me, has Benedict fucked Miss Virginia?
Girl, Miss Virginia was one of the women in Benedict's bedroom in the beginning of episode 1.
Jesus God.
She is one of the women you see laid out naked. She's specifically the one on the Chase lounge by the window. So the fact that these men kind of just pass her around, and then
Ugh.
That's your boy. And he's like, yeah, like I'm in love with her. And like, you just got down with her a couple weeks ago. And Benedict's like, happy for you.
I mean, maybe he was there and he left, Maybe they were having a real Lady Tilly situation.
Who knows? That could definitely be it. They were a throuple. This is a group of friends who have a great time.
They're really close.
And Benedict's happy for them.
He's like, wow, this is so great for you guys.
He's like, wow, I'm so happy for you guys. You know what? She was a great lay last time, guys. I know you're having a good time.
I'm screaming. So Benedict says hi to them and he's like, it's nice to see you guys, whatever. They go off to do their own thing. And Benedict mentions to the other guys, Colin, John, Will, that his friend, whose last name is Hiscox, well, it's Hiscox, all right, has recently taken a mistress and that they're very much in love, even though Hiscox is already married. Colin immediately dismisses that idea, right? He's like, that does not interest me at all. I have got my hands full. I've got my hands full. I've got my lap full. I've got my mouth full. Colin's like, listen, I'm busy. I'm busy worshiping my wife. Benedict chooses that moment to remind him that
Love
Antony.
him. Amen. Snaps.
I love wife guys, like guys who just are obsessed with their wives. Benedict reminds him that Antony kept a mistress, Sienna Rosso.
I mean, is it a mistress if you're not married?
I think when they say kept a mistress, it's like
Had like a lady
like
that
set up.
they weren't marrying.
A lady they weren't marrying. He was paying for her apartment, like, and giving her money for shit. And low key, I'm like, how much fucking money do these men make? Why can you pay for 2 households? What are we, Dominican? I'm cutting that out. Don't worry.
No, we leaving that shit in.
I'm like, what are we doing, right? Like, Will Mondrich agrees with Colin, right? Because he's also a my wife guy. He's like, my wife is dope as fuck. I don't have time to have a mistress. Too busy liking my wife. And Mondrich says, quote, "We must marry according to class, but we do not always love that way," end quote. It struck me as like quite weird to have Will delivering that line, considering like his entire arc has been a class-based come up throughout the whole course of the show.
That he's the one who said that because
it's like, when were you considering class as far as your relationship, unless there's something about Will we don't know?
Is there a backstory there?
Right.
Were you in love not according to class at one point and it couldn't work out because of class difference? The line is important and I think it influences Benedict. I found it odd that Will's the one that delivered the line.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he just wouldn't share this perspective.
He'd be like, ew.
The line is valuable. I understand it. I don't know that it hit the same coming from Will.
Yeah.
I know I'm not the only one that was like, that felt off.
After this interaction, Benedict is left deep in thought, watching Hiscox and Miss Virginia interacting very lovingly with each other, right?
Yeah. And the whole time, hasn't stopped messing with this button.
Oh, that's true.
First, he couldn't get the button on. Then Sophie helps him with the button. Now, because Sophie helped him put the button on, he's obsessed. He won't stop touching it. It's almost like an obsessive tick because he's thinking about Sophie now.
Mm-hmm.
The guys bring up the lady in silver. He's not thinking about the lady in silver.
Mm-hmm.
He's thinking about Sophie in that moment as he's messing still with this button that she helped him with. And so it like furthers this idea of like this infatuation he has with her, like this, dare I say, like this hyper fixation.
Mm-hmm. Cut from that scene to Lady Bridgerton the following day, where she is sitting down for tea with Sophie to do some investigative work. Lady Bridgerton is a detective. So she starts asking where Sophie grew up. Apparently she grew up in Aylesbury, how she's become so well read. She says the lady of the house where she worked allowed her to take lessons with her daughters. How did she end up working at the Cavenders? Why was she let go from her previous employer, which Sophie does not want to talk about. She just confesses to having had a disagreement with the lady of the house. So Violet gets like a little bit more intel, not only about Sophie, but about her time with Benedict at my cottage. Sophie says, she casually mentions like, of course the Crabtrees were there the whole time, right? Kind of trying to be like nothing inappropriate happened. It totally did, but Violet doesn't need to know that. Sophie says it was one of the happiest weeks of her life. Ding, ding, ding. And then she catches herself and she's like, I've always wanted to see that part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And Lady Bridgerton's like, ooh, girl, clocked.
Specifically the lake.
Specifically your son. And she lets Lady Bridgerton know that her parents are deceased. Lady Bridgerton, being an absolute angel, she's a sweet, sweet woman, mentions to Sophie, hey girl, you don't have to freelance here. We'll take you on full time. Be here permanently. And Sophie's like, you know what, girl? Thank you. I'll consider it. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'll think on it. We cut from there to Violet promenading with Lady Danbury, and she is wearing like a really lovely gown. It makes me think of like tulips and roses, and it is pale pink instead of Bridgerton blue.
It's 'cause she's blooming.
Lydia Bennett. Send her to jail.
But no, she's blooming. She's ready for romance. She's getting ready to have her, garden watered.
Her tea.
She's getting ready to have her tea.
Mm-hmm. Lady Danbury is dressed in these gorgeous Bridgerton blues. It's almost like a role reversal because Lady Danbury usually favors lots of burgundy, wine, deep purple colors. Violet usually favors blue all the time. She's now wearing this blushing pink. Lady Danbury's dressed in Bridgerton blue. And this season in general, we see Lady Danbury in a lot more blue and green than we've seen her in previous seasons. The blue is usually, with the exception of this dress, so dark that it almost looks black. The green is like olive-y tone greens, which look stunning on her because she has phenomenal skin. And Lady Bridgerton is talking about how she wants to protect Sophie, but doesn't know why. She's like, there's just something about her that I just want to take care of her. From this conversation, they kind of segue when Lady Danbury's like, hey, what do you think of Alice Mondridge? Speaking of people we want to protect and take care of, what do you think of Alice Mondridge? Lady Bridgerton's like, I like her a lot. She's cool as hell. And it's nice of her to help with Benedict and finding the Lady in Silver. And Lady Danbury confides very non-specifically about how she selfishly wants to give something to Mrs. Mondridge, but she wants to give it to her because it's more for her own benefit. So she's like, it's a good thing, right? Like, I'm not setting her up for something bad, but it is something that would help me. So it's selfish. And in a way that I think is very specific to Violet this season, right? Because of the arc that we see her going through with herself and with Lord Anderson. She starts talking about, well, I often feel selfish, but it's important to do things for yourself. Sometimes it's important to be selfish. You have to do things for your own benefit. You have to take care of yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And they're having like two separate conversations in the same way, where Violet is like rationalizing all this weirdness that she's felt about, quote unquote, moving on, right, from her husband, being attracted to another man, potentially initiating a relationship. And Lady Danbury is obviously talking about divesting from the queen, reestablishing her life elsewhere, not necessarily being beholden to Charlotte the same way that she has been at this point for decades. Even though they're both talking about the same idea of like this necessary form of quote unquote selfishness, they mean it in very different ways. And Lady Bridgerton quotes Mrs. Wilson and says, life is meant to be lived. Life is meant to be lived. I'm meant to be fucking your brother, and you were meant to be fucking my dad. And
Nadhya.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. From there, we cut to Francesca in her home with John, where she is holding up a painting on her wall that's already nailed up.
That is nailed in as hell.
In the perfect
what
spot.
Are we doing?
I don't know. They're clearly dressed to go to bed, right? Like it's like nighttime. He asks her why she so spontaneously kissed him in their drawing room the other morning. And it's like, guys. And Francesca gets very awkward, as she is prone to do, and apologizes. And John tells her, like, I haven't been wanting to do the most physically because I'm mindful of your comfort, because I'm trying to be respectful of you. But I would like to be more, quote, expressive together, end quote.
Ooh,
girl.
Not expressive, guys.
Hubba. The temperature's rising. I cannot handle that.
I mean, he's a king for that, though.
He is.
For recognizing she's brand new to this. Mm-hmm. I'm going at her pace.
Yes. We love John. This is not John slander.
I'm going to slander a little bit. He's also not that experienced.
Yeah.
I would say because he can't tell that she's...
has not come.
That alone lets you know that, hey, he probably doesn't have as much experience. Not saying that he doesn't have any, just not as much. Mm-hmm. And he's also learning as he's going, as is Francesca. They're a young couple. Who wouldn't expect that, right? Not every male is a rake, as we've come to learn.
True.
He's very much learning with his wife as she's learning with her husband, and they're learning what they like we were saying before. Mm-hmm. It's very sweet.
And Francesca, of course, is like, I would also like to be expressive. And it's like, you guys, I need one of you to be drunk. Like, I need
let's get some drinks in you. Let's see what happens.
I need one of you to release your inhibitions. I need you to feel the rain on your skin. Okay? No one else can do it for you. Only you can let it in. I know they're sweet, right? I'm just like, move it along. Like, but they're sweet. And I really do love John. I think he's a great character. This shit always works better when one of you has been a slut.
Yeah.
If one of you is a virgin, meet up with a slut. Again,
making the case for rakes
brothels.
make the best
no,
husbands.
joking.
No. No.
I know, I'm kidding. Rakes.
But probably.
Listen, can we unionize the sex workers? Rakes make the best husbands. Reformed rakes, as they say. Not current ones, reformed ones. Guys who've been around, who know what's up. From there, we cut to the Bridgerton house where Sophie is staring out the window trying to see the stars in one of the parlors. She's trying to see the stars, and casual ass Benedict Bridgerton is like right behind her. He is so fucking close to her, and he is in shirt sleeves with lowered suspenders, which is giving very Kate Sharma, Anthony Bridgerton library at Aubrey Hall. He's so, I must repeat, he is so fucking close to Sophie. And he mentions how it's difficult to see natural beauty once one is inside Mayfair. So obviously that's a very symbolic statement because she's commenting on how difficult it is to see the stars, right? Because of the light pollution, because they're in the middle of London. But he's like, I mean, natural beauty in general is hard in Mayfair. That's why I love being in the country. And what he's saying is like, I have a hard time seeing the good things and the benefits of living in the city, right? Like I feel so constrained. My neck, it's so, my colors are all so tight. Like he feels so stifled where he feels like out in the country, like he's got fewer eyes on him. He can be himself.
Also like reminiscing about their time together
For sure.
back in the country where they're not assuming these roles that they're currently in right now.
They were just existing together. And Sophie goes to leave the room and he asks her not to go. She tells him in response to that Lady Bridgerton has asked her to stay on permanently. He takes her hand. Ooh, not the hand. He tells her that he wants her to stay, but that she deserves so much more than being a maid. And if Nadhya's writing this show, which I'm not because I wouldn't be good at that, the next line would be, and what's so wrong about being a maid? What's so bad about being a woman who works for her income? What's so bad about that, Benedict? Tell me. Why do I deserve more than this? But obviously, we all know what he means. He's got the best intentions in mind.
You don't deserve to be worked to the bone.
Exactly. Neither does anyone. But whatever.
Neither does anyone.
That's not the conversation we're having. She says she doesn't know if she should stay. He says that he doesn't want to ruin things for her, right? Like, I don't want to make this more difficult for you, right? Like, if you like working here and you want to stay, I want you to do what you want. I don't want you to feel awkward because of me. She bids him a good night.
And then they zoom in on this shot of his hands. And I immediately right away, I'm like, oh my God, Darcy moment, 2005, Pride and Prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't linger on this moment long enough. I feel like we've lost the art of lingering. They zoom in on his fist, which is so tight with frustration that he breaks the pencil or charcoal that he's currently holding in his hand. This charcoal that he has been using to draw the lady in silver. He went into the room to grab his sketchbook that was on the table. And so in this moment, kind of symbolizing to me how like this fantasy of the lady in silver that he's like actively sketching is slowly breaking by Sophie's presence.
And what you previously said about them not lingering on that, I agree, because it was something that I didn't necessarily pay a ton of attention to it on this watch.
Yeah, they didn't linger on it long enough. They needed like an extra 2 seconds.
I love a linger.
Nadhya, Atonement, okay? When Keira Knightley comes out of the fucking fountain and walks into the house.
And he's holding the handle
in his hand. The handle with the tightest grip ever. And they just...
Yo, Joe
and
Wright.
They just linger on that shot. That's what I wanted to see.
Joe fucking Wright.
Oh, Joe Wright. God. Joe Wright. When I saw Benedict's like hand in this fist that they kind of shot to, it was just 3 seconds too short. You just see him kind of snap the charcoal in his hand and then the camera cuts. And I was like, that would have been such a great moment to linger on.
And didn't I say something like that when we were discussing episode 1, that I felt like this overarching thing for me that stuck out about season 4 was this lack of lingering?
I think you did mention something like that, but I think this is a pandemic. I think it's true across.
It's a pandemic of lingering.
I think it's true across the board for most of the media that's coming out today.
Yeah. There's no
They
attention
move
span.
on so quickly, which is why, guys, heated rivalry hit so fucking hard.
good.
Okay? Because you're staying with them in these moments. The camera is static as they're doing their movements. You're staying there with them in that moment. You're lingering.
And you're watching their whole bodies act.
You're watching their exactly.
Ugh.
Listen, and I'm for camera movement and cinematography, but there are certain moments where you just gotta chill and just watch it. We're losing the art of lingering. One of the reasons why heated rivalry hit the way it did.
It's far down the list of reasons, but it is one of them.
Yeah.
From this scene with Benedict and Sophie, where we do not get enough of a linger on Benedict's hand, we cut to Sophie in her bed in the servants' quarters, and she is tossing and turning, frustrated, and she starts touching herself. Girl, have you spoken to the Duke? Did he teach you about this too?
The little hand holding Benedict did left you a little
Lord.
warm
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
between your bits.
Not your bits. And
Your bits.
okay, so back in Sophie's bed, she does what so many of us do, and she goes, I can't sleep. Time to touch myself. Maybe that'll work. Sorry.
Not time to touch myself.
Oh,
Ding, ding, ding.
what else is there? And she's frustrated and ultimately unsuccessful in her efforts.
She too could not reach her pinnacle.
Yikes. She should talk to Francesca about that. And cut to the...
She shouldn't. Though.
No, nobody should. Nobody should. We cut to the following morning where Lady Bridgerton is in her own room, probably has just, gotten up from bed. She is in a lovely, luxurious blue robe, and her hair is down. Go off, queen. We very rarely see Lady Bridgerton with her hair down. She's steeling herself. She's trying to mentally prepare to stand in front of the mirror in her bedroom, the full-length mirror, and look at herself naked underneath the robe. She opens up the robe, kind of bites the bullet, and seems pleasantly surprised by what she sees. Where she's like, not bad. Does she not regularly look at herself naked? They're rich as fuck. They have a bunch of mirrors.
Yeah, but seeing yourself in the mirror getting dressed or something is very different than looking at yourself, right? Looking at yourself with the intent of being perceived by somebody else, right? Because now you're looking at yourself from what you think that person's perspective is going to be.
It's like when you look at your own Instagram because someone else followed you. And you're like, but I need to see my Instagram from their perspective.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't stand in front of the mirror and just look at myself. I pass the mirror every day. Can't tell you the last time I checked myself out.
That's so funny. I mean, kind of same though.
But here, she's literally checking herself out. What are
the vibes?
How do I look to a partner? How am I going to be perceived by a partner? And I think that's very scary.
Cut to Lady Danbury and Alice Mondrich arriving at the Queen's palace. The Queen disinterestedly receives her, barely remembering who she is, and she does not know why she's there. Alice lets the Queen know that she believes she has found Benedict's quote-unquote lady in silver, even though unfortunately we all know that she hasn't. Immediately after, Lady Danbury prompts the Queen, and she hastily says, yes, she can be my new lady in waiting, and dismisses Alice Mondrich, who is speechless. She is so completely shocked by this turn of events.
Yosemite.
She does her little bow and curtsy and promptly leaves the room.
At this moment, I didn't realize that Lady Danbury hadn't talked to her about it. When I saw her face, I'm like, yo, she took her over there without letting her know.
That's crazy.
What she was getting into?
That's fucking crazy. And the Queen is kind of like, girl, that's fine. Let her go. I just want to gossip with you, my main bitch, Lady Danbury. We cut from there to Lady Whistledown in a voiceover montage of the Ton reporting on the maid wars, finally going a little bit more quiet, and new speculation about which family is moving into the house next to Bridgerton House. We get a shot of Benedict in his shirt sleeves, laying on the sofa in the study, staring at his unfinished painting of the Lady in Silver that only has the face missing, where he's yanking off the topmost button of his shirt in his irritation.
Because he's thinking about Sophie. Which is why he stopped sketching the Lady in Silver. So I love how that symbolism continues through this scene where he's like can't bring himself to continue to sketch and just can't stop touching this button because he can't stop thinking about Sophie.
It's all Sophie all the time.
And now it's interrupting his
fantasy of the Lady in Silver.
And so then when Violet comes in to tell him about like this woman that they've come across that could be the Lady in Silver, he's almost like, oh, okay. Not disinterested, but almost a little disappointed because it's going to take away from Sophie. If this is the Lady in Silver.
Now he has to choose again.
Now I have to choose.
As Bana was saying, Lady Bridgerton is bringing over Alice Mondrich's option, offering up as the Lady in Silver, who is a young girl by the name of Miss Hollis, that Lady Bridgerton's already done her part. She's invited her and her mother over for tea. She's like, listen, Benedict, we've got a scheme. You'll be nonchalant. You'll come into the tea. You'll chat for a second. We'll see if it's really your girl, and then we can go from there. But she sounds lovely. After Violet leaves, he glances back at the painting. The immediate next cut, we see Benedict kind of hyping himself up a little bit as he's walking into the Bridgerton drawing room, where Violet is treating the Hollis women to tea. He comes in to join the ladies, Dike, right, by accident. Like he and Violet didn't plan this whole thing. And finds a very kind and very lovely, dark-haired, fair-skinned Miss Hollis, who, honestly, she genuinely does seem really sweet. Like, she seems really sweet and nice. Benedict fixates a bit on her mouth and kind of mid-conversation seems to realize that it's not Sophie's mouth because that's the only feature of the Lady in Silver that he can reliably remember that wasn't covered by the mask.
Well, coincidentally, she's kind of wearing a similar lipstick shade to the one that Sophie was wearing on the night of the masquerade ball. So I don't think he dismisses that it's not her. I think he kind of like, it can be a possibility. So then he continues to press.
Their mouths are totally different.
They are.
Wow.
They are. But I think he's focused maybe on the color. Also, it's been months.
It's been months.
At this point.
Yeah. As Benedict is talking to Miss Hollis, he tries to challenge her a bit, right? Like he's kind of trying to provoke her by saying similar phrases to those he said during his conversation with the Lady in Silver. So he makes a reference to swimming in shallow water versus swimming in deep water. As he's doing this, and she's bobbing and weaving, right? Like she's like trying to, must be a riddle.
It's like very coincidentally, a lot of what she says matches with a lot of what Sophie said, right? She says, I love the ocean because I like deep water.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to swim all the time in France. Oh, yeah, you speak French? Yes, I do speak French. And it's almost like there's a lot of moments where it's like, oh, shit.
Maybe she's perfect.
That even as a viewer, you're like, oh my God, she is kind of checking these boxes. And then you're waiting for the shoe to drop, really. And even him in this moment, he's kind of like, all right, you're kind of checking these boxes. But then he sees Sophie.
But even before he sees Sophie, he kind of starts to reference conversations he's had with Sophie. The French was a conversation with Sophie. That wasn't a conversation with Lady in Silver.
No, but she brings up that she was in France. He's like, oh, so you speak French. Somebody told me that my French is not that good. He says in French. And then the lady's like, they're a fool. They don't know what they're talking about. He didn't like that.
Because he didn't like that she was just...
Don't dismiss my girl, Sophie. She's not a fool.
He's
I
also
take her
like,
seriously.
He wants to be challenged. Benedict wants to be spanked a little bit. Like, that's the whole thing. He doesn't want a woman who's just like, yes, whatever you want, you're great at French. Parlez-vous. Like, he like doesn't want that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Miss Hollis is doing the demure debutante thing, right? Like, she's fawning over him. Like, no, your French is perfect. Where Sophie was like, I don't give a fuck. Your French sucks. Like, she was tough and critical.
Well, where the Lady in Silver would have been tougher and more critical. He's comparing her to the Lady in Silver.
But so is Sophie. Tough and critical. Like, Sophie doesn't she doesn't
correct.
kiss his ass. Like,
which is what he likes about Sophie.
Exactly. Yeah, Benedict really doesn't like the more sycophantic turn, right, that the conversation has taken. We see Sophie walk into the room to deliver more tea. And as she's approaching, she and Benedict are dopey smiling at each other. It's goofy. finally she seems to kind of realize like, oh, right, like I'm bringing tea to this woman who Benedict's probably meeting with because she's like a viable candidate to be his wife. And she gets flustered, overcorrects, and becomes really robotic and weird and starts hastily refilling everyone's tea.
Well, Benedict also gets weird. He starts to like panic a little bit.
Yeah. And as she's pouring, and again, she's rushing through it, so she's just trying to like get in, get out. He like belatedly says that he doesn't want more tea and covers his teacup with his hand like mid pour, literally as she's tilting the teapot. She ends up burning his hand by accident with really hot fucking tea. So I feel very bad about that because that must have hurt like a bitch. Now lovely tea time is ruined, everybody. Sophie apologizes. She tries to clean up. Benedict is like, girl, scram. Tea time's over. Violet ends the tea with Miss Hollis and her mother. Everyone has just had their teacup refilled. I must reiterate. Violet notices that the vibes are incredibly weird between Benedict and Sophie, but she's like, well, I need to walk my guests out. Now Sophie's back to cleaning up the rug where she spilled the tea, and he goes in there to apologize to her, ?
I think he like felt guilty that she's the one serving their tea while
he's meeting with the lady.
Meeting with this lady. And like those two things should be very unrelated. Mm-hmm. But he obviously apologizes because he feels almost like he's betrayed her by meeting with this woman.
And he feels her frustration.
And also the fact that she's serving them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of
course. He doesn't like that either.
Because she deserves better, but the other maids are fine. And Sophie is like real agitated that he was meeting gentle ladies of high society because she is a maid. And she says, you have tea with these like high society snooty bitches. I am a maid and I clean up after. It is the way of things.
She gets very bitter. She gets very like she has to remind herself. It's almost like she has to reassert her insignificance in comparison to these ladies, and it makes her angry.
Yeah.
It makes her angry. It makes him feel bad. Mm-hmm. To the point where he starts to defend himself like, I wasn't even interested in her.
I wasn't going to marry her.
And then this conversation starts getting a little confusing. You're like, okay, how do we get here? It's almost like the night before, him asking her to stay felt maybe like some type of declaration, maybe. Because the awkwardness in which they entered this conversation felt way off.
And it felt too intense. Like, I almost felt like there was like a scene missing because he tries to comfort her by weirdly being like, I don't even like her like that. Like, we're not going to get married. And she's like, it is so unhelpful when you fill my head with foolish ideas.
What did he say?
When?
And only
is it like
thing
because
that
he told
really
you he
said,
liked you and you turned him down? What are we talking about?
So the fills her head, like filling my head with foolish ideas because he asked her to stay.
I guess.
To stay and not to leave the night before. Because that's the only thing. That's the only interaction they've really had outside of the button after they've been back from my cottage. What I think is surprising about this scene is that she seemed to be the one to set these boundaries. Mm-hmm. And then here she's upset. Here she like lashes out at him.
Then she says that this is the best job she's ever had. And seeing him there every day is quote unquote ruining it. They get into a little bit of a conversation where he's like, well, I mean, I guess I don't have to be here all the time if it's like really bothering you. And she's like, perhaps you should go. Right? Like, don't you have another apartment, bitch? Get the fuck out. Girl, this
Aren't
is
bachelors
crazy.
meant to be in their bachelor lodgings? I was watching this scene like, hold on.
Absolutely.
Is she kicking him out of his own house?
Out of his own fucking house. Bruh, he's Viscounting, right? He's substitute Viscount Bridgerton. She is bossing that man out of his house. Are we kidding? It made me so angry. And like, I know that they don't have boundaries in this relationship, which is why this conversation is so messy.
Yes, it like really blurred the lines of like who's
in charge.
Not Benedict. I mean, was he ever in charge? No. Not so much of who's in charge. It's just like of the roles here. And when I say the roles, I mean like kind of head of household, boss and employee, I guess you would say. You don't see their relationship that way.
No.
That's not even what I refer to. I mean, like, almost like, yeah, you're talking to the head of the household.
And he is deferring to you.
And you're telling him to leave his house.
We're tripping. We're losing it.
And also, you're telling him to leave his house at the job that he got you. So it really trips you out. It trips you out. There's a bit of role reversal. There's a bit of shift in power dynamic. There's like confusion. As the viewer watching this, you're like, wait, what?
As she's exiting the room after they've had this fucking argument where she's like, hey, get out of your own house. I'm a maid and I'd like to keep working here. Leave. She tells him to pursue something with Miss Hollis after all. Girl, if you don't shut the fuck up.
I think at this point, she's like, well, nothing's going to happen between us. And they can't. So go ahead and pursue this person. Something that is endearing, I guess, in this situation is that she expressed her discomfort and he so readily was like, I'm going to do what I need to do for you to feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate like the respect that he gives to her level of comfort. It comes at kind of a bit of self-sacrifice for him. Mm-hmm. But technically, he doesn't live there. He's meant to visit. I don't know. I guess we're just so used to seeing him in the house, but technically he does not live there. He's just coming by more frequently. Let's think about at the beginning of the season. His mother talks about like how he's not really coming around the house. She has to go find him. And here we are now. He's just showing up at the house. He's at the house all the time. Mm-hmm. He's doing his sketching at the house. He's laying up on the couch in the study at the house. Mm-hmm. He wasn't spending this much time at Bridgerton house before Sophie was working there.
True.
You can argue that he's kind of invaded her workspace to be closer to her. It's done intentionally.
From that scene, we cut to Sophie in her quarters. So apparently her quarters are not downstairs. They're in like a different part of the house than I thought they were.
I think it's interesting where her room is because it's like in a different side of the house. Mm-hmm. But it's almost like at the very top floor of the servants' quarters. I don't know if that speaks to a bit of symbolism of like where her standing is, mm-hmm. because she is not necessarily a maid. She is the daughter of a nobleman. So I felt like that positioning of her room being like the top floor of the maid's rooms speaks to like her position also, in that she is in this realm kind of like a symbol of her actual status. Mm-hmm.
She looks out the window and sees that Benedict's carriage is getting packed up by his footmen and loaded with all of his shit. She just watches from the window. That he's fucking leaving. That's what you asked him to do.
She got a little tear in her eye.
Jesus. And we cut from there to John and Francesca falling into bed together. And I need you to know that she is fully dressed.
Still.
She could go to dinner right after. She is fully dressed. So he starts like, he's like shirtless. He starts using his hands, I guess, right? Like underneath her dress. And she is enjoying it maybe. She like very obviously and like embarrassingly fakes an orgasm, mm-hmm. the pinnacle, right? Like the thing she doesn't even understand because she didn't know what it was, which is fucked. And even John, again, in his inexperience, is like, girl, stop it. Insert Michael Jordan meme. Stop it. Get some help.
Help me understand how this woman who didn't even know what an orgasm is somehow is faking one.
Say that.
Did she watch like some Regency porn? Is
dead.
There like did somebody walk her to a brothel? Did she get some examples?
Oh, they had really good imaginations back then.
At what point did she know to fake it in this way? Also, isn't the point of her wanting to reach the pinnacle, of her wanting to orgasm, not tied to her wanting to become pregnant? Because she's been made to believe reaching an orgasm heightens your chances of becoming pregnant. So what good does it serve you to fake the orgasm? At no point has this conversation been about appeasing John.
Mm-hmm. Because he can't really tell because he's very
He
inexperienced.
hasn't been able to tell. You guys have been married for months. It hasn't even come up.
And John tells her, he's like, you don't have to do that. He asks her then about reaching her quote unquote pinnacle. Francesca finally comes clean. She's like, hey, I've never reached my pinnacle. I don't think I ever have. And I think it's why I haven't gotten pregnant. And I'm like afraid. And John asks, well, how did you feel before you started
Pretending.
egregiously faking it? And she admits that it felt nice and warm and tingly. And he tells her that their intimacy isn't just for her to get pregnant. It's also for them to be closer together emotionally. He's like, in these moments that we're close together like inside, emotionally, in my heart, in my soul, not just physically. He tells her, you know, like with regard to children, he's like, you know, whatever you want in life, I will always endeavor to give it to you. But I hope you know that you are just right. We are just right as we are right now, and we have all the time in the world for the rest. And if you hit me on like the right day of the month, that alone could make me cry.
It really is so beautifully said.
Mm-hmm.
So like comforting and beautifully like validating for Francesca. Part of the reason why, you know, and this is an assumption of course, but part of the reason why she can't reach this level of pleasure while they're being intimate is because she's stuck in her head. She can't let loose. She can't relax. She's overthinking all of it. As she's in the moment, she's trying to calculate what she needs to do. And so that in itself, you can't relax and let your body go and let it do what it needs, you know, just let it do what it needs to do. So that's super validating from John. Like, hey, you don't need to worry.
There's nothing
about
wrong
this
with
right
you.
Here. There's nothing wrong.
So after that scene with John and Francesca, we cut to the interior of the Mondrich home, where Lady Danbury is back in her burgundy Lady Danbury steez, and she's she's waiting in the drawing room with Will Mondrich, right? So he's the one who's received her, waiting for Alice to come down, because that's who Lady Danbury is visiting. From the dialogue between them, we understand that Alice is pissed, and she's not pissed at Will. She's pissed at Lady Danbury. And
I think it's so funny that Will's like, she's mad, and I know she's not mad at me.
It's like, babe,
like, I know when she's mad at me, and it ain't with me.
We've been together long enough. I know what's up. And he's like, I know she's not mad at me, and I feel like she's probably mad at you. Girl, that's crazy. And he's chilling. He's like, I'm just gonna watch what happens. But then he's also like, she's been silent since the moment she got back yesterday, and that's how I know that she's really pissed, but I also know it's not my fault. Alice comes down into the drawing room. She's wearing a pale green gown. She literally looks like a real life Tiana from Princess and the Frog. She's so pretty. She's gorgeous.
They put a lot of makeup on her this season.
They put a lot of eyeshadow on her.
So much makeup on her.
It's like a lot. Lady Danbury continues after Alice is in the room, making the sales pitch that she never actually fucking made, because she completely sprung the lady in waiting bullshit on Alice.
Literally.
And Will is like, holy shit, you're going to be one of the Queen's ladies in waiting? Like, that's huge, right? Isn't that good? And Lady Danbury lets her know that she can use her position for influence to get closer to the Queen and basically gain like this very delicate and unique kind of power by being the Queen's friend. The Queen sucks, right? So I'm like, all right, well, there's a large cost to this. But Alice is like, I can't fill your shoes. Even if I'm the Queen's lady in waiting, like, I'm not the next version of you. You're giving me, quote unquote, giving me this opportunity to become this type of person. I'm not you. Like, we're not the same.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not going to fill your shoes. Like, I can't. And Lady Danbury's like, bitch, get your own fucking shoes. Fill them yourself.
Phenomenal line.
Yeah.
Phenomenal line.
And she delivers it perfectly. I love her. She's so good. Now Alice is thinking that, you know, gears are turning in her mind.
Oh, she's like, be friends with the Queen. Like, she starts saying it like, how could, like, be friends with the Queen?
Me?
Like, what the hell?
Me, Alice?
And then she's like, wait, be friends with the Queen? Oh, shit.
That's crazy. From there, we cut to Violet in the study at Bridgerton House while Benedict sits behind the desk. She's apologizing for, you know, I'm sorry that it didn't work out with Miss Hollis. I'm sorry she wasn't the lady in silver. He jokingly suggests that maybe the lady in silver was a figment of his imagination. And Violet says, well, You always did have a tendency to chase the imagined.
Yeah.
All right,
Jeez,
come for my
yo.
neck
Damn.
next time, Violet. Jesus. And
Oh, damn.
and Benedict is like, cool, Mom. Sick thing to say. I feel great. And Violet's like, no. Everyone lives in their imagination, right? To some extent. And she's like, I always think I'm going to run into Edmund around the corner. I think that will happen every day, which is really sad. But then she says, and again, this is like a similar thing that we've seen throughout the season, where Violet is having this conversation both with him and herself. So she's doing all of this processing of how she's continuing her life without Edmund through these conversations with other people, discussing two topics at the same time. She says that real love needs to be grounded in reality because reality feeds the heart. She tells him he'll find a spark with someone else, whether or not they're dressed in silver. It's ironic that she's saying this because I feel like it almost gives Benedict permission to like Sophie.
She doesn't know that, though.
But Benedict is taking it that way because he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. Who's in my real life that I like? Oh, it's Sophie.
Who do I have a real spark with?
Who do I have a real spark with? Sophie. She's three-dimensional. She's tangible. I can see her with my eyes. So as she's talking to Benedict, she's saying the same thing to herself, right? Like, she can't expect her husband, who's been dead for 10 years, to show up around the corner in their house. It's tragic that they can't be together because he has passed away, but she's also kind of grounding herself and being like, there's nothing wrong with me living in reality. There's nothing wrong with me taking an interest in someone who's real and three-dimensional that I can see with my eyes. I'm not betraying anyone. I'm not doing anything wrong. A lot of her arc, even from season 1, has been like a build-up to that of like, is moving on a betrayal? How do I feel about it? Is it something that I want? Do I feel ready? Like, it's been over a decade. I genuinely think Violet is one of the most well-written characters of this season. Like, for me, I think her arc makes a ton of sense. Her character flaws make a ton of sense. I don't think there's anything about her character that necessarily feels like, oh, that's really out of character. That's really wrong. That doesn't suit who she's previously been. No, I think Violet has been like consistently written in a way that's like really satisfying because her growth is so tangible. Like, you see where she's at season 1, even how she's styled, how she wears her hair, how she's dressed, like it all feels like it's this slope towards where she currently is. And I don't know, maybe I'm like a dumb baby, maybe I need to be like spoon-fed all of my stuff, but I just really like that. I like how they represent her. I think they give her a lot of respect. From that scene, we cut to the kitchen at Bridgerton House where our favorite servants, or the servant gang, is chilling and vibing and playing games around the table. Hazel and Footman John are flirting, go off, my king and queen. Mrs. Wilson comes in and she's like, listen, you guys, you have the night off. Get the fuck out. The family's going to Francesca's for dinner. I'm going to stay here, but all of you guys have to leave. I literally make the rules. Get the fuck out. As everyone's like, hell yeah, night off, woo. Sophie lets Mrs. Wilson know that she has decided to stay on full time. Now that I forced Benedict to move out, I'm going to stay on.
Oh my God.
And Mrs. Wilson is like, oh, amazing. You are very cherished in the Bridgerton home. That seems like very bittersweet news for Sophie. She doesn't really seem to know what to do with that. And from there, we cut to Francesca's drawing room at her home, where she is accompanied by the 3 younger Bridgerton siblings, Eloise, Hyacinth, and Gregory. They comment on Violet not attending, and John's like, this dinner was her idea. Like, why isn't she here? And then they're like, oh, but Benedict's not here either. Gregory or Hyacinth is like, oh, I guess he and Mother must have the same illness. And it's like, no, guys, our boy's just like real sad. And Hyacinth compliments the way that Francesca has her home set up and how perfect everything is to Eloise. And she's like, oh, I cannot wait to have my own home. And Eloise is like, oh, if you're going to talk to me about marriage and children and running a home, save it. Shut the fuck up. And
essentially,
basically, Eloise, read the fucking room. We know that she can't. She's so bad at that, okay? I was also really bad at reading the room when I was 19, 20, whatever, however old she is. Fuck. And Hyacinth's face falls. And she's just like, I thought you were interested in everything else except for me. But now I'm starting to realize that you're only fucking interested in yourself.
Girl, when she said that, I was like, yes. Finally.
Incredible.
Somebody said it to her face. I mean, she gets it every season.
Yeah, no, Hyacinth is the one who knows.
Yeah, no, I mean, Eloise gets it from somebody every season. Like, oh, I'll never forget when Penelope is like, not everyone's a pretty Bridgerton. That shit set me. This gave me that same vibe.
And Eloise is kind of taken off guard and is kind of staring into the distance, processing what Hyacinth just said. We see a footman enter the drawing room to let John and Francesca know that they have received another guest. And they're like, another guest? Who the fuck is that? They go all the way outside to get this guest. It is Michaela Sterling, who has come from Scotland and is driving her own coach. John is like so fucking excited to see her, and she's so charismatic and cool and bright and interesting, but Francesca is not happy to see her.
She tenses up right away.
Kind of automatically, like on autopilot, is like, Michaela, yay, we're so happy to see you. And Michaela's like, are you? Because you look like you've just seen a ghost. Bitch, I'm no slouch.
And so then you're like, yo, what happened in Scotland though?
Mm-hmm.
I remember when she met Michaela and she's like, oh, she was all speechless and shit. And now, I mean, I guess she's equally as speechless. She's I guess just as awkward.
Yeah. We get a little bit more context about what their time in Scotland was like for the previous year, right? After they went away, after the last season. And in reality, it doesn't seem like anything big happened. It just seemed like their personalities are so different. Michaela was taking up a lot of John's attention, and Francesca didn't really like that. It didn't know how to verbalize it, didn't know how to draw that boundary. So we cut from there to Benedict sketching out a drawing of Sophie in one of his Viscounting ledgers next to a page of notes. As he's sketching it, he just kind of like has a moment of realization. He stands up suddenly, probably because he's planning to go find her. Cut to Violet getting ready to be the tea. She is wearing like some really cute Bridgerton blue like undergarments.
This little number that she has on in this scene,
she looks so good.
First of all, spectacular. Second of all, spectacular on her.
Mm-hmm.
She looks so good. And let me tell you, when this man walks in and this woman goes, I am the tea that you'll be having, I was like, oh shit, Violet, let him know.
So, as Violet is like awkwardly trying to pose herself somewhere in her room, Lord Anderson is brought into her chambers. He comes in, he's fully dressed because he's like, I thought we were going to have late night tea, you know, like normal people do, I guess.
Also wasn't going to walk in there half dressed.
And he's like, oh, they told me you were serving your tea in a different room. And she's just like, I am the tea. I am the tea you will be having. Go off, bitch. You are the motherfucking tea.
The standing ovation that line got in this living room.
We were like, hell motherfucking yeah.
Oh my God.
And he comes over to her and they kiss. And because he's a very nice man, he's like, you know, we can take it slowly. And she's like, get undressed.
Take your clothes off.
The tea's
now.
hot and you need to take your clothes off. So,
yes. And
good for him. He's a very handsome man. And he has like a real thick round butt. Again, good for him.
Those pants came off.
Connor Story wear, you know, that booty was round. We obviously get the camera angle from behind where we see his booty and Violet is meant to be seeing whatever is in the front of his body.
She was like, oh shit.
And she is clocking whatever he's got going on downstairs and she seems happy about it. We get a very brief cut of Mrs. Wilson outside Violet's door smirking. This bitch knows what the fuck is up and she's a ride or die. We love her. From there, we go to the dismissed servants getting together to go to the tavern. Sophie mentions that she has forgotten her coin purse and needs to run inside and get it. And this is all happening concurrently with Benedict arriving at the Bridgerton house and running up into the servants' area to find Sophie at her bedroom.
After having sketched her.
After sketching her. So he's knocking on her door. Obviously, she's not there. She stepped out to go to the tavern. Unfortunately, she is on her way back. Benedict gives up knocking on Sophie's door. He decides to run downstairs, leave the servants' quarters. Sophie is climbing up the same stairs to get to her room. Stair symbolism again. And of course, fucking of course, as she's running up and he's running down, they smack right into each other on the landing between staircases. Very satisfyingly framed.
It really is. And if you think about when we start the episode, right, and you get like that spectacular shot of him heading upstairs while she's heading downstairs, this does the opposite. Here, they show him running down the stairs looking for her while she's running up the stairs to get her stuff, unintentionally bumps into him. So visually, this is like them kind of breaking or escaping this societal hierarchy that they set at the beginning of this episode with that shot, and meeting in the middle, meeting in this liminal space between their perceived roles. Also, if you notice in this scene, again, continuing with the symbolism of like the exposed neck, the exposed vulnerability or freedom. And then in this scene, you also notice that both their collars are undone. We've seen Benedict struggling with the constraints of his collar through the whole episode. It's been a theme of the episode. But in this specific moment, it's the first time we see Sophie without her collar since her time at the cottage, right? At the cottage, she had on the Regency dresses, no collar, which is why she took off her necklace. When she leaves, she puts her collar back on, right, as part of her maid attire, and covers her necklace. Here, in this moment where she bumps into Benedict unintentionally, she doesn't have her collar on anymore because she's ready to go out and her necklace is out. But Benedict is so set on what he went there to do that he doesn't notice the necklace. Or it's also dark. Seeing them both without their collars or with their collars undone furthers that symbolism of like this temporary freedom from their constraints.
They bump into each other. Guys, what is there left to do? There are no words to say.
It's dark out. It's nighttime.
They start making out sloppy style, okay? It is hot and heavy.
We smashing our faces together.
That's the only way to do it.
We're getting lifted up against the wall.
And I'm not going to lie to you guys. This isn't really doing it for me, but I'm cheering them on. I love this for them.
Yeah.
We see Benedict very deliberately breaking their very sloppy makeout to put his 2 fingers in his mouth.
I didn't need that. Can I tell you how much I didn't need that?
I didn't like that at all. They were trying to recreate some fucking Colin Penelope carriage magic.
You know what? It felt like that at first, but I think it plays back to when Sophie was trying to get herself off earlier in the episode and she couldn't get there. And then here it's like deliberately showing you that Benedict helped her get there. And then also kind of drawing kind of like this indirect parallel to like Francesca and John's situation and her not being able to reach her orgasm with John's hand stimulation. Like maybe also as well, maybe I'm reaching, but I had to find the reason why they needed to cut this moment to like show this hand motion so deliberately. Like I didn't need it.
No, I don't think anyone did.
I mean, and I get like the consenting aspect of it, right?
Like being deliberate so that she can say no.
Exactly. Being deliberate and doing it slowly, giving her time to, if you don't want this, you can stop this. But you can also just ask. And that's almost sexier.
And you know what? Sophie and Benedict, they don't give a fuck how I feel about what Benedict's doing with his fingers. He gets that hand right up under her skirt, fingering away. And she seems to have a great time because in no other scenario can I imagine someone coming in just like 90 seconds flat.
She's pent up. She's been trying for a couple of days. It hasn't gotten there.
Ain't worked. This has gone great. 2 minutes of ecstasy for Sophie, right? It's gone great. Benedict's like, you know what? I got my hands where I wanted them. I think it's time for me to confess something. Quote,
now,
if you wish me to leave, I will. But the truth is, I stay away because you consume me. My eyes search for you in every room I enter. My heart beats when you are near. I hope it beats when she's far away too. The reality of you has become more tantalizing than any fantasy ever could be, and one I cannot live without. I meant it when I said you deserve better, and I am determined to give it to you.
And he could have stopped there.
And wouldn't that have been great? That would have been phenomenal. Top 10 speeches.
You stop right there and you finish that off with a come home with me, with a let's go somewhere.
We be fucking.
With a stay with me.
I'm determined to give it to you. Let me. Phenomenal.
Ooh,
10 out of 10.
Dead in a ditch.
Yeah. But what does he say? He says, I'm determined to give it to you. Sophie, ... Be my mistress.
Goodness gracious.
The way it's phrased as a command and not a question. Benedict, I want to punch you in the face. That poured a bucket of ice cold water right over Sophie's afterglow.
Couple things, right? First, he thinks he's bringing her a solution. He thinks that he's presenting her with a solution that works for the both of them, that saves her from her situation. The thing that he keeps saying she doesn't deserve keeps him where he's at. Mm-hmm. Very little sacrifice, if any, no sacrifice at all. When in actuality, he doesn't know this, but for her, it's a continuation of generational trauma for her. Mm-hmm. But again, he doesn't know that. He's looking at it from the perspective of he's just seen his friend and his past lover be very happy together. Mm-hmm. He's seeing them and it's like, okay, can we be that happy and satisfied? If you think back to season 1, again, we've had this conversation, when he thinks about Lord Granville and the life he had to leave to be with the person he loved. Mm-hmm. And what was one of the things that Lord Granville told him? Essentially, like, what is more romantic than having to choose your love every day, and it's unacceptable and it's dangerous and it's unaccepted by society? What's more romantic than choosing that? Like, these are the examples he's been seeing mm-hmm. for years.
He's been seeing people using loopholes.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And seeing the option of having a mistress being like this good and positive thing. Mm-hmm. So could we have expected more really from him? No, not necessarily. Like, he's been shown this as if it's a good thing. The only pushback he got was from Colin and John.
Yeah.
He sees it as the norm. He sees it as like, oh, this is a good option. He would have never thought that this is something that she would have looked at that would have affected her negatively.
Yeah.
So I don't blame him 100%, but oof, oh my God, when he said that. In the book, he doesn't ask her that way. During the lake scene is when it comes up where he's like, I can't stop thinking about you. I want you to be with me, stay with me, come back with me to London. Mm. And that offer is what leads her to say, oh, so you want me to be your mistress? And then he's like, well, I guess so. I just want to be with you. Mm-hmm. Then afterwards, it's, will you be my mistress? Please be my mistress, blah, blah, blah. But she's the first one that throws mistress out there.
Yeah.
Here, he went straight for the, will you be my mistress?
Sophie wordlessly picks up her cloak from where Benedict tossed it on the stairs and walks away in silence, only glancing up to look at him when she's back on the ground floor.
Oh, such a good shot.
And we get such a good shot of the camera pulling up towards the ceiling in that middle open column of the stairway as it ascends and descends. And of course, we get a Lady Whistledown voiceover from our Queen of Genovia talking about the importance of the roles we play.
Yeah. And he goes upstairs and she goes downstairs, mm-hmm. reaffirming their positions in society.
Mm-hmm. And we get a cut to Lady Bridgerton and Lord Anderson just absolutely vibing, basking in the afterglow before getting into round 2. And good for them, crazy kids. We see Sophie exit the Bridgerton home in a daze to meet with the other servants who are heading to the tavern, because they've been waiting for her for this whole 5 minutes that this encounter took. They've been waiting. We now see...
Not 5 minutes.
The whole 5 minutes. We now see that the new occupants of the house next to the Bridgerton house will be the Ladies Penwood.
Oof.
And who is their new HBIC? Varley.
Yo, when we're watching this,
to quote Marissa, we were hooting and hollering.
Oh, I could not believe it. I was like, nah, Varley, Varley.
I was so unwell about it. I was like, she's the original ride or die, and this is how we're doing it.
That was such a good cliffhanger.
Yes, it was. It was great.
Because first, okay, you see Varley. You're like shook. You feel the stab of pain in your back for the Featheringtons. Or from the Featheringtons. Like at that point, like Varley. Now you see what ends up happening with Varley. Mm-hmm. But the weight of the Penwoods being the ones to move in right next door really heightens the stakes for Sophie's situation. And after she's accepted this permanent position and then have to pedal back if she has to like leave. Such a good cliffhanger for part 1 of the fucking 2-part release, which I fucking hate. But
same.
It was a really good cliffhanger. And you know what? Okay, so recently, last time Nadhya was over, we watched Pretty Woman.
Hell yeah.
Right? And this interaction between Benedict and Sophie really reminded me of the scene where at the end, Julia Roberts and Richard Gere have had their week. Mm-hmm. He's about to fly back to New York and she's about to go back home. And he tells her like pretty much like, hey, you know, I'm going to put you up. I'm going to get you an apartment. Pretty much I'm going to keep you. Te voy a mantener. I don't want you back on the streets. Like, I'm going to set you up real nice. And she's like, okay, but like, what? Then I just see you whenever you're in town? And he's like, well, I can't give you any more than that. Mm-hmm. And she's pretty much like, no, that's not good enough.
I want more.
I don't want to be your side chick, your mistress that you just pop in when you're in and out of town. I'd rather be by myself. I want the whole damn fairy tale. Another Cinderella story. That one right there. God, I fucking love that movie.
The way that fucking movie holds up, dude.
But obviously it doesn't carry the same generational weight and trauma that Sophie has, but it's in a similar way. Like, I'm not taking scraps.
So good. But yeah, guys, that is the end of episode 4 of season 4 of Bridgerton.
Yes, and the end of part 1.
Ah, shit is so fucking annoying. I'm not even respecting that.
Again, an amazing cliffhanger to end on. By the time we reached this point, I was like, oh, I'm sold. I mean, I'm so excited to see part 2. Mm-hmm. The way the story was developing, I was super intrigued by how they were going to continue to move forward. Mm-hmm. And really interested in not just Sophie and Benedict's storyline, but like it had me really interested in what we were going to see in part 2.
All right, guys. So you already know we're covering season 4 of Bridgerton. We will be talking about the rest of season 4, the episodes that came out as part of part 2, episodes 5 through 8. Then we are closing out this season of Bridgerton while we wait for the next and better ones to come out.
So just a couple more episodes to cover. We're halfway there. Just and a couple more weeks.
We're living on a prayer. So stick with us if you want to continue hearing me bitch and moan about things that I did not like about the season, and then hearing Paola change my mind because she's so much more insightful and thoughtful than I am. Please stay tuned. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening if you've made it all the way through to the end. And listen, if you like what you heard and you want to hear more, please leave a review or a rating anywhere you get your podcasts. Find us on Instagram at sisflixpodcast. Shoot us an email at sisflixpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any movie requests or suggestions for something for us to cover in the future, find us on Patreon.
Ooh, where we actually have our live reactions of us watching these episodes we're talking about right now.
I'm biased.
So you can see as we start fucking clapping and yelling at the TV.
Like seals. I'm biased as hell, but I find them so funny.
When Violet serves her tea.
Girl, highly recommend. If you want to join us over on Patreon, we drop the occasional bonus video content, the occasional bonus episode of the pod, occasional little baby merch. So You can find us there. You can also find us on Letterboxd. You can find us on Facebook. Thank you again. Like and subscribe. Just kidding. I don't. Just kidding. Unless ... But thank you so much, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.